Learn to control your ego, which is your worst enemy. Your biggest enemy is not someone else. It's not bad luck or bad parents. It's not scheming opponents or late capitalist cruelty. Your greatest enemy resides within you. It is called ego. We are not discussing Freud's psychoanalytic concept of the ego with a capital E. We are using the word ego in the way that most people understand it, as an unhealthy feeling of self-worth, a selfish drive, or just plain arrogance. Ryan Holiday says that there are three stages that we are always in. Aspire, success, and failure are the names of these three stages. We are always in one and always moving toward another. Let's say you are doing well in your job. What's the next step? Either you will run into problems and fail, or keep doing well and try to do more. Or your relationship isn't going well. What's the next step? Either you keep failing at relationships and want to start a new one, or you want to fix the one you are in. See what I mean? You continually cycle through aspiration, success, and failure. No matter what you do or where you are, your ego is always your enemy. Some say you need an ego to get started or keep going, but ambition is not the same thing as ego. Confidence is not the same thing as ego. Ego will get in the way of your dreams, ruin your relationships, tear down the life you have built, and keep you from picking yourself up and trying to make it again. Depending on your stage, your ego will show itself in different ways. But no matter what it looks like, it's always your enemy. This video is meant to help you see how your ego shows up so you can fight it and stop bad habits from forming. By the end of the video, you should have the tools to replace ego with its opposite, humility. In the words of Ryan Holiday, you will have the tools to be humble in your goals, gracious when you succeed, and challenging when you fail. This video will also teach you how ego is different from ambition, how ego is different from confidence, and why you need to focus on what's important to you. To improve, you must overcome ego. In the first two chapters of this book, I will talk about how ego can get in the way when you are just getting started, when you are aspiring. No matter what you want to achieve, you will fail. It could be anything, like learning a new skill or changing careers. In this phase, your ego is overconfident in your talents. It tells you that you don't need to work because you are intelligent and talented. You don't have to work hard. You can get by just by being smart. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said that it is impossible to learn that which one thinks one already knows. There's no doubt that talent can help you get ahead in life, but humility, hard work, and a willingness to practice and put in the time are much more likely to turn your goals into reality. If you overestimate your talent, you will never improve. If you already know everything, you will never learn. So at this point, you might need to judge your skills accurately as the most important skill you can have. Let's look at the life of William Tecumseh Sherman, a general in the Union Army during the American Civil War, to see how this works in real life. Sherman was incredibly well known. He was and still is considered one of the best US generals. But his rise was neither quick nor expected. As a young officer, he moved from one post to another by horseback, going all over the US. At each new job, he learned something new. When the Civil War started, he joined the army. Later, when there weren't enough leaders in the Union Army, Sherman met with President Lincoln, who gave him a promotion. Sherman was also very honest about himself. He said he would accept the rise but wanted to avoid being in charge. Sherman had a clear idea of what he was good at. Most people would have taken the chance to get more power, but Sherman turned it down because he knew he would be most functional where he was. When Sherman finally stepped up and led his strategic plan, it was based entirely on his expertise, his work, and the lessons he had learned, not on cocky self-assurance. And his procedure went well. By the time the war was over, he was one of the most famous people in the United States. This is what sets confidence apart from ego. Confidence comes from working hard, judging yourself honestly, and getting things done. The ego is not based on anything. In Holiday's word, ego is stolen. You have to earn trust. Sherman never let his ego get in the way of his work, which gave him confidence and success. We will talk more about Sherman and how he handled his success. But for now, take a moment to evaluate yourself. Be unflinching, be objective, be unforgiving. This is challenging. It might hurt a little, but the goal isn't to hurt yourself, it's to teach you humility. If you have a realistic view of your skills, you will be more likely to succeed because you will be willing to put in the hard work. 3 suggestions for overcoming the ego. Work that is hard and not very exciting is what it's all about, especially when you are just starting. Small things add up to make a big difference. Having big goals like writing a book or getting good at something hard is okay, but a book is made up of individual words and sentences. A skill is learned by making mistakes and then learning from them. It's not easy. The best way to get rid of your ego and replace it with confidence is to put in the work. It is also the best way to move on to the next step, which is a success. In the Aspire stage, Holiday gives 8 ways to deal with ego. More than half of these tips are about taking action, not trying to be someone else, and being willing to do the work. Let's take a look on them. First, talk less. Talk is dangerous. The thing about talking is that it takes up the same time and mental energy that work does. And the harder or scarier a task is, the more likely you want to talk about it. But after all that talking, you won't be any closer to finishing, and your time and energy will be gone. Talking about a task also gives the impression that it is getting done. If you think about, explain, and talk about something for a long time, you might believe you have already done it. So don't talk too much. A man's best treasure is a thrifty tongue, said the ancient Greek poet Hesiod. Subsequent point: work, 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 and have fun while you are doing it. Work does not end with achievement. Just because you wrote a novel doesn't make you a writer. Because you write every day, you are a writer. Just because you ran a marathon doesn't make you a runner. You are a runner because you run every week more than once. The ego thinks that success is the end goal. If you have one success, you are successful. But working hard is a process that leads to success. So learn to have fun with it. Becoming a student is the third tip. It's a great way to move on to the next stage, which is called success. In the next point, let's talk about what it means to be a student. Be a lifelong learner. The ego loves itself a lot. It will tell you that you are better, smarter, and expert. When you want to be successful, you can fight your ego by reminding yourself there's always something new to learn. Kirk Hammett is an excellent example to look at. In 1983, when he was 20, his life changed forever when Metallica asked him to be its lead guitarist. Hammett was a great musician from the start, even though he had just joined one of the most famous rock bands of all time. He knew he still had much to learn and more work. So Hammett started taking guitar lessons from Joe Satriani, who was an excellent teacher. Satriani was a strict teacher. Many stopped studying with him because they didn't want to practice the way he said. Not Hammett. He prepared by learning and practicing. He worked. 20 years later, in 2003, Rolling Stone ranked him as the 11th greatest guitarist of all time. Suppose you have been recognized for your work and given an impressive title. Staying humble and ignoring what your ego says will be even more challenging. When Hammett joined Metallica, he was already a pro, but he didn't let his achievements stop him from growing. In other words, he didn't let his pride stop him from improving. Imagine what would happen if some of the world's best inventors got too proud of their early successes. For example, Steve Jobs had rested on his laurels after making the Apple II computer. Precisely, we probably would live without iPhones or iPads. Our pride causes us to rest on our laurels. Pride and ego are not the same things, but they go together. Pride helps us feel good about ourselves and makes us think that a single success shows how special we are. We are too busy patting ourselves on the back to see where we could improve or how much more we could accomplish. Keep studying, it's a fantastic approach to combat this. You may have learned from someone during the Aspire stage. When you reach the success stage, you should still think like a student. Even if no teacher is more intelligent or skilled than you, learn more about what you do. There is always something new to learn. By reminding yourself of this, you will be able to keep your pride and ego in check, which will let you keep doing well while others fail. Concentrate on what is essential, what matters to you, not to society, your parents, or anyone else you think you need to impress. But for you, it's essential to figure this out, because if you don't do, your ego will take you in the wrong direction. You might start going after goals or positions that don't mean much to you beyond the status they give you. This is a bad idea that will only lead to trouble. Ulysses S. Grant was the 18th President of the United States. During the American Civil War, Grant served alongside William Tecumseh Sherman and performed admirably, rising to the rank of general. In terms of military success, he and Sherman were on the same level. They were two of the most famous people in the United States, and everyone respected them as heroes. Here's where things start to be different. Grant ran for president after the war and won. Grant was famous in the army but needed more experience in politics. No matter, he wanted to be the most powerful politician in his country. He believed he was the right person for the job. There is nothing wrong with this. Grant was just ambitious, but there is a difference to be made. Unlike ego, ambition is built on a solid foundation of actual accomplishments. Sherman, for example, was a man with a lot of goals. He also wanted to be successful and worked hard to get there. Before moving up in his military career, he built up much experience in his current rank. He never applied for a job that he didn't think he could do well. But let's get back to Grant. He won the presidential election of 1868, but the country couldn't have benefited more from his win. His government was not effective and full of corruption. Grant, a genuinely lovely and honorable man, was not cut out for Washington's wheeling and dealing. He was surprised by what happened. After 2 stressful and complicated terms, he left office because he disliked by many peoples and he confused by his poor performance. Later, Grant was bankrupted by a Ponzi scheme. Once again, he was led astray by a desire, this time for easy money, that lead to nothing but ruin. Sherman never wanted to be president and was happy to keep working hard in his field. On the other hand, Grant couldn't figure out what was important to him. Sherman was okay that his success in one area would only sometimes help him in another. Grant did what so many of us do. He had some success and immediately wanted more without thinking about whether the more he wanted was important to him personally. Not that he is the only one here, we all do this every day. We lose ourselves in the race. We need to remember that we set the finish line. This is the personification of the ego. The need to have more power, money, or exciting experiences without thinking about whether the power, money, or experiences will bring us closer to what matters to us. So, what is important to you? You should spend more time with your loved ones, or you may want more money. Each is fine. You need to understand that. No matter what your goal is, you will have to give something up to get there, and your ego won't let you do that. Knowing what you want is the key to getting it. Once you know that, you can ignore anything that might get in your way. Learn to delegate work and trust your team to keep your ego in check. Do you need help trusting your teammates or the people you work with? Have you ever felt you couldn't give them jobs because you know they wouldn't do as well as you? These are clear signs that you need to put your ego in check. Try putting your faith in what other people have done. It will help both you and your team. As you move up the career ladder and take on more management responsibilities, your ego will probably get in the way. You might be used to being praised for your work, but in your new job you get little credit. Instead, you are in charge of other people's work and they get the credit. Don't give in to the urge to do work that you should be giving to someone else. That voice telling you that you are the only one who knows how to do things, right? That is your ego. Resist it. Give them to someone else and understand the advantages of delegating. You might find that other people are just as capable of taking care of everything you used to do, and you will have the time to do new things. Believe people. Could you respect the work they do and use the time you have now? Is delegating a good idea? Well, keep in mind that if you don't delegate, it can cost you a lot. It can cost so much that it can ruin your business. Identify your failure's causes. It's normal to feel upset if one of your great ideas is turned down or you don't get the job you applied for. Even though our egos tell us that we deserve rewards, the world doesn't always work how we want it to. Even when we do our best, we sometimes not get that promotion or close that sure deal. So how do we deal with it? Instead of being upset, we can start by recognizing our work and realizing that we can't always control how our work turn out or what other people think of us. We should welcome an unexpected result as a chance to honestly think about how we did. On the other hand, we should remember that success that comes from hard work is not the same as luck. So once more, we need to be honest about how well we did. Think about the football team, the New England Patriots. They picked Tom Brady in the 6th round of an entry draft, and he became one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history, leading the Patriots to 4 Super Bowl wins. But instead of being happy that they found such a good player in such an unexpected way, the Patriots wanted to improve their scouting program to see more players like Tom Brady. They didn't have a party when things went their way. They went back to making plans. Take the time to figure out why something doesn't go as planned the next time, or even when something happens to go well by chance. If you work harder, you will have a better chance of succeeding. So I have completed the Ego is the Enemy book summary. I hope you make the notes and get some knowledge from this video. If you loved this video, then like this video, share this with your friends, and subscribe to my channel for next book summary. Thank you for your time.